if we want our bodies to shift, the fastest way to heal the body, by the way, it is the future of medicine. What then starts to happen when you take this code out is your life starts to change. Just as if you took a bad piece of code out of your computer and it was being funky and your command button didn't work or your control or shift button didn't work and you took that code out, all of a sudden that button's going to work.
This is Beyond with Heather Tesch, where we examine near-death experiences and life itself, hopefully making this life a little better. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to my guest, once again, Alysa Rushton. Hello, Alysa.
Hi, Heather. Thanks for having me.
It is wonderful to have you. I was blown away by the experience that you just shared with us. I mean, really, it is out there among some of the most incredible experiences that people have when they die and go to the other side. And there's so many more things I want to ask you about. For those of you that are just joining in, I'll have a link to part 1 in the description. And you can go there. You can also always go to my playlist and you can find all of my episodes there. But let's just dig into some of the things that we covered and try to go a little bit deeper. One of the things that you talked about is just being able to connect with trillions of other beings. And that could include something as simple as a rock, something as a human being. And then also you talked about beings, I think probably from other planets or maybe other dimensions. And I was going to ask you, did they feel different than when you connected with somebody on our own planet?
What a great question. Yeah, it all felt different. So all the layers felt so different and everything has its own unique energy signature. And from I really felt like I was one source energy, the divine, I call it divine energy, that is all things. And so in it feeling different, there wasn't what I want to say is there wasn't any judgment. It was not like, oh, this is better than that, and that's not positive, and that is positive, and that's horrible, and that's awesome. There was none of that texture in there. It was just all data. It was all frequency. It was all energy coming through. So yes, it felt different, but I, as the experiencer of it, didn't feel, how best to say this? I didn't feel at the time that all that was happening, there wasn't this delineation of this is good and that's bad and that's up and that's down. It didn't happen like that. It was a very non-linear. It was a very non-judgment. It was, because I think what's really important is horrible things happen here on planet Earth. We have a lot of trauma. We have a lot as a very difficult plane to experience. A lot of difficult circumstances happen, but on the other side, there wasn't that sense that we have here. It was expansion. It was the sense of, ooh, expansion, ooh, growth, ooh, data coming through.
And when you talk about hardships that we have here on Earth, I thought of that when you talked about that we actually, part of our essence is existing elsewhere and potentially also going through some of the same issues or maybe taking a left turn instead of a right turn. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I can barely handle one life. And just the thought that this is going on elsewhere, it's a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, and it is. And I think that's part of the reason why our human brain doesn't process that as much. However, I think we're getting to the point in time in our evolution here on planet Earth where we're changing densities, we're changing our construct. There's some, I call it an inverted matrix energies are moving out. And so I think the concept of multidimensional beingness is getting more attainable for certain people. Whereas if you would have talked to people about being multidimensional 25 years ago, they would talk to you about your next visit to the mental institution. And so I do think, though, the great news is our science is catching up. Our science is understanding that actually, yes, we are these quantum particles and we exist at many different places at once. Even so much as a subatomic particle is existing as a wave and, um, and a particle all at once. So we too are the same.
Yours was so complex. You're talking about these things that for some of us, it's hard to grasp. Other people have very different experiences. Why do you think people see different things? I know you touched on this just a tiny bit in our first segment, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I believe it's a layered reason. So, and I think a lot of times in our human minds, we want to really oversimplify things. And the truth is that death, dying, being a human, being a, a being in the universe is a complicated process. There's a lot that's happening. And so I think that number one, the death process is customized for each individual. I don't think it's a one size fits all, just like a life is customized for each individual. It's not a one size fits all. Our lives are not the same. Our death process is not the same. It's supposed to be very loving and helping us make a transition because we are making a transition. But if you think about the birth process here on planet Earth, how sometimes that can be amazing and wonderful and joyful. And then sometimes there's really hard births as well. So it's the same thing when we're dying. And we're technically not dying. And that's the biggest piece. You are not dying when you die. You are being birthed into a bigger universe. That is the thing. You are going from your embryo in the earth womb to your beingness in the galactic plane.
You also talked about sacred geometry and how light and sound play a role in all of this. And it sounds like play a role in our healing and maybe where the future is going in healing. Can you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we think of ourselves as these human bodies in our vehicles, our meat suits, if you will. And though they're informed by light and sound, your body is mostly light and sound. It's if you put it under a microscope, you're mostly space, light, and sound. You're very little matter. So we could actually squint your matter down into a very small, little tiny bits that would fit on the pin head of it, a head of a pin. And so because there is something else informing our bodies, if we want our bodies to shift, the fastest way to heal the body, by the way, it is the future of medicine. We will look back probably in 10 years' time and think how horrific it is that we cut the body to heal it. And in fact, even now, there are studies using sonic sound frequency to blast away cancer. So, not cutting on the body, but using those sonic sound frequencies to completely destroy the cancer. I mean, you can see this on a cymatics table. So, cymatics is the science of sound impacting matter. And so, you can just Google a quick YouTube video on cymatics with a C, not an S, and you can watch sound frequency move sand around on a table. So then, if you apply the theory of cymatics into our body, think about the implications of this. The things you're listening to are sound. And that sound frequency is impacting how your cells perform. It's impacting how your cells work. Also, the light that you intake impacts how your cells perform. So, what happens now, especially in our modern world, is most people do not get early morning light. The light that you receive first thing in the morning actually turns on protective processes in your DNA. And that if you add in some sound and some breathing techniques, excuse me, you can, instead of creating, so there's a Krebs cycle that happens in your mitochondria. It's what gives you energy. So most people are operating at only 2 Krebs cycles per revolution. So in the morning, though, if you go outside and you intake that morning light and you do a little breathing and sounding, you can convert those 2 Krebs cycles to 16 Krebs cycles, which means you have 16 times the amount of cellular energy. So, yeah,
And what should we listen to while we're doing that?
the sound of nature, your
Okay.
own voice. The sound of nature and your own voice are the most harmonic tuning frequencies that you can have. They're designed to attune your body into states of homeostasis and healing. You could also listen to some sound healing that's especially been tuned for your body. And there are certain frequencies that help to heal trauma. The lower frequencies really help the body to feel supported, and the higher frequencies help you to attune to angels and the unicorn realms and the angelic realms and all of that.
It really is fascinating, and I ask about it because I have heard other guests saying the same thing about, that really being the way in the future, of how we heal. But for those of us, that are learning about it now, it's nice to think that there are things that maybe we can do now to get some of that healing going before society catches up with it.
Yeah. And, if you think about it, we're the only species on the planet who has hospitals. We're the only species on the planet who wears shoes. So we are really disconnected from our environment. And so the more we can connect with our environment, the environment is designed to heal you. And I live in Hawaii where there's dolphins and sea turtles. And guess what? They'll have these huge gashes on them that will heal themselves. They're naturally tapping into their inner physician. They're naturally tapping into their inner healer. They live in water. They technically should not heal in water, yet they can. And so human beings, we too can heal, but usually what happens is we're not giving ourselves the constituents that we need, the chemical constituents of light and sound and the nutrition to create that healing environment. And even, your body's always listening. It's the thoughts that we're thinking. It's the feelings that we're not feeling and suppressing. It's actually okay to feel your feelings. In fact, you have to feel them to heal them. But most people are living these lives of suppression, and they're watching TV and they're checking out and they're not getting grounded. They're not getting good light in their body, and they're not getting proper sound in their body. Many people live in cities where the sound is just really hard on your system, and that creates a lot of disharmony in the nervous system. So getting out in nature, getting your feet on the ground, hugging a tree if you have to in the winter, to just off gas some of those positive ions that we pick up throughout our day. Also, we're sitting in front of the computer all day long. If you want to control a society, you control their light. And so we now live in a society where we're sitting in front of these computers with blue light all day, and not positive blue light. We're in our houses that many of us have switched out to the LED lights. And a lot of people don't leave their house. And so that light is nutrition. Light is information. And the quality of light that you're getting informs your cells. It informs your DNA. It literally tells your DNA to express certain ways or not. And so if you want to change your body, if you want to change your life, you've got to change your light. You've got to change your sound.
You talked too about getting these codes and frequencies. And I think some of that was related to healing. So, what is that about?
Well, we all have access to a channel of information. So in the past, we've been taught you've got to go to a psychic, you've got to go to a healer, you've got to go to somebody who's not you. Maybe it's you got told that you got to go to Jesus, to be forgiven or healed. The truth is that you have direct access to this beautiful channel of information. And when you open up to that channel, the perfectly aligned codes and frequencies for you will start to come through. And I have seen this a gazillion times. I have a Energy Healers Academy, and I watch people come into the academy and they start to learn to access that channel and to draw in their own codes and frequencies that are directly connected to their highest path. And inevitably what happens is, I hear this all the time, like, oh my gosh, it looks like you got a facelift, or it looks like you lost 20 pounds, and the people in the academy, their bodies are changing, their lives are changing, they're manifesting large sums of money, they're buying their dream houses. And it's because they directly connected with their own source energy, and they're not circumnavigating it and trying to get through somebody else's. And an analogy that everyone can get is you've got Wi-Fi and cable coming into your house. So imagine if you were trying to get your Wi-Fi and cable and hook up through your neighbor's connection instead of having your own, it wouldn't work as well. And what has happened on planet Earth is we've been programmed into connecting in through somebody else's channel instead of developing our own beautiful channel, whatever you want to call it, God, source energy, the universe, it doesn't really matter, but we all have this direct connection. And it's mostly about learning how to work that connection and grounding the energy so that you can process all this frequency through your body, all these codes through your body. Because what started happening to me after I had my near-death experience, we couldn't keep a microwave. The TV would go out all the time. I mean, the electronics were just blowing all around me. And even my husband, who I'm not married to anymore, but he doesn't believe in any of this stuff, but he's like, I don't know what's going on, but somehow you're blowing out every single electronic we have in the house. And we got to figure out how to stop this, basically. And then I got the download. Oh, I've got to go ground myself outside. I've got to let all this high frequency energy get grounded. So just like if you were to plug in your computer without that plug in to the ground, you'd fry it instantly. So yeah, so mostly with the codes and frequencies, they're different for everybody, but it's really about knowing how to work your own connections so that you can get the exact aligned upgrades that are perfect for you. Because we're on different soul plans. We have different things happening for us. So we wouldn't want to get, like, I wouldn't want to get Heather's upgrades, right? Heather needs to get Heather's upgrades. Alyssa needs to get
Right.
Alyssa's upgrades.
One thing else I found interesting is you heard this voice, and it came from who you learned was a guide, and he was kind of the person or not person, but being in charge of affirmations. Yet you also were saying that the law of attraction doesn't work. So can you clarify, I guess, the difference between the positive thinking and affirmations versus the law of attraction?
Yes, let me back up and say that the theory of the law of attraction is that if you're just a certain frequency, that what you want will come to you. And so I think that affirmations and all of that being positive is great. And I love affirmations. I use them all the time. I love positivity. I do that all the time. But the false notion is that you can just have your reality be amazing by the frequency that you're holding in your body. So what happens is people hear this notion of, oh, I just have to be the frequency of what I want. The problem is that you can have a really high frequency, but what actually creates your reality, you don't attract anything in your reality. So the false notion is that you're attracting things in. No, you create your reality. You're a divine creator being. It's like you are the projector creating the movie. So if I think I'm attracting my movie, it's already broken. I can't actually do that. And that's the reason why 95% of the people cannot work the law of attraction no matter what they do. I mean, that's a real statistic out there. 95% of the people fail at the law of attraction. And the reason why is because the theology is broken. That's not how it actually works. So once you understand that you are the projector of your reality. If at any time you don't like what's showing up in your reality, yeah, you might have to shift your vibration a little bit, but more than likely, you will have to shift your beliefs. You will have to shift a DNA program, a genetic program that's embedded in your DNA, maybe even a soul level program. And once you shift that piece, then the reality shifts. Then it really changes. And so my heart goes out to these people who are just trying to attract their reality and be the vibration. But really what we need to do is, keep using the tools, keep using all of the tools, but take a look at the imprints that are inside the DNA that are actually creating this thing that you don't want. And usually for people, it shows up as bodies that won't heal, relationship nonsense that keeps happening again and again and again, no matter what they try.
And doesn't a lot of this go back to things that were programmed in us when we were children, and they're not things we're even aware that we hold in our subconscious that bring some of that sickness on, or don't allow us to achieve and be who we want to be?
Yes, for sure, as children, but also from your parents and your parents' parents. Your DNA, epigenetics has said it goes 7 generations back on both sides. My belief is it goes a lot farther. So if you take a look at what the DNA actually imprints, DNA is evolutionary. It's the reason why kids now come into the world and can work an iPad at 1 years old, because their parents had the imprint of iPad. Versus if you tried to teach my 82-year-old mother to work an iPad, it would take her years to learn how to work the iPad because she doesn't have the stamp in her DNA to know how to work it.
But when you say that, to me, it seems a lot harder now to overcome if I'm overcoming all of these past generations.
It is if you don't know how to work it. The truth is, we have it in there whether you know about it or not, right? And if we don't understand that part of the reason why we're having certain things happen to us is because we have these DNA imprints from our past generations, then you can't clear it. But if I know, oh, I need to look in the DNA imprint and I need to clear this out at a generational level, because guess what? We live in quantum time. You can heal backwards and forwards. So then you can go in and really create a whole new clean slate when you know how to release it.
And is that something we do in meditation? How do people release it, as you say?
I think a lot of people don't know how to release it, which is one of the reasons why when I came back, I had to start this academy where I teach people how to do it. But I will tell you in 1 minute how to do it. Let's say we're having an issue, and I'm going to use money because I think everyone can relate with money, where maybe you've got a lot of lack. And no matter what you do, it's just there's never enough. Never enough is a huge DNA genetic program that we have that's been embedded across many generations have struggled with this. So the process I teach is taking that phrase, there's never enough, and it is being very conscious about it. Your consciousness trumps everything. So when you use your consciousness to grab up all of the soul level, all of the DNA, and you're intending to clean this out across all the generations, and you bring it into the body. And so you might do this little process that we teach. You find where you feel the most energy in your body that feels sluggish or clunky or stuck. And so in this case, for this audience who's listening, it's right in the solar plexus, right underneath the rib cage. And you would just tap and connect in with the body and do a little statement like, I now release any places and spaces in my physical or energy body, in my cells, in my DNA, and across all soul lifetimes where I have accidentally been imprinted with the energy of not having enough. I release this now across all time, space, dimensions, and reality. What you are doing is you are being a coder. You are working with sound frequency, light frequency, and the body. You're working at all of the levels of the body because you have 4 body systems and you have a soul. So you're literally working across the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, and the energy body, and at soul level. So you're able to just go in and take this bit of code and you're basically pulling it out and saying, it cannot live in my energy system, and I'm going to heal it across all time. What then starts to happen when you take this code out is your life starts to change. Just as if you took a bad piece of code out of your computer and it was being funky and your command button didn't work or your control or shift button didn't work and you took that code out, all of a sudden that button's going to work. So your body is very much a holographic code, and you can literally go into it and delete these pieces, take them out, but you also have to reprogram them as well. So you can't just leave that space sitting there. Then you have to bring in a command statement. And you might say, I now command that I am ready to receive, infinite abundance. I am ready to be here, to be a vessel of abundance. So, it varies per person, but we want to delete the code and we want to infuse new code. And we have to bring it down from soul level with our intention across all the body systems, take it out of the DNA, and we tap it through the body because your body is where it has to come down and through.
You've been so helpful with sharing all of this information. It really is helpful to us. I know that there are people that are going to want to connect with you more and hear more about how they can change. So tell us about some of the things that you're doing and then how people can connect with you.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Well, we do have the Divine Light Energy Healers Academy where I teach and train and certify, although I always get weird about that word because it's not really mine to certify people in, but I do show them a modality that I learned on the other side, which is really effective in changing your own personal life. And one of the things I believe is that when we heal ourselves, that ripples out. And so it's as and through you first, because the truth is, on the other side, when your consciousness passes on, you actually won't care about the people you healed or the lives you touched. It'll be most about the soul growth that you did. And so, anyways, it all comes back to us always. But yeah, there's the Divine Light Energy Healer certification. The best way to connect with me is on Instagram. I do daily stuff there, and people can just enjoy the free content. I do a ton of free content, a ton of free calls, because the reason why I came back here is to help people understand that they are divine in physical form. And that is my mission. It's my purpose. So you guys can enjoy the free goodies. And that's really, it's just something there for you that if you want it, you can have it.
And do you have a website too?
Yeah. So a lot of the tools that I talked about today are in the Raise Your Vibration Toolkit. So you can actually go to raiseyourvibrationtoolkit.com. It's totally free. There's tons of goodies in there for you that are going to help shift your frequency and help you create a different life. And so definitely check that out.
And I will put links in the description, and Instagram too will be a great way for people to find those links too. Before we leave, you've already left us with so much, but can you just share some parting wisdom with us?
I'd love to. You guys are so loved, and you are the divine creator of your own life. And once we really understand that piece, where we take 100% responsibility for our life, not for what's happened to us, but this is my life, and here's what I'm choosing into now. Here's what I'm choosing to create now. Here's what I'm going to do with this now. We don't take out the beat up stick ever, because human beings like to take out the beat up stick and just beat themselves up, and we don't do that. But it's like, okay, so that happened. I'm going to take responsibility for creating something new. And here's the most important thing. You can absolutely create something new. If I could dye a 240-pound woman who looked like she had 20 entities on her and was just a mess of a human being, you can absolutely recreate your life. There's nothing special about me. I don't have any special, talents or skills. I'm not highly educated. I'm just a normal human being, just like you. If I can do this, so can you. And it starts with the choice. It starts with you choosing to really connect into your essence.
Alysa, that is beautiful. And you are beautiful as well, inside and out. And thank you so much for sharing all of this today. I learned a lot, and I know that the people listening also learned a lot from you.
Oh my gosh, it's been such a joy. I'm so grateful to be here. And this audience is so amazing. So you guys definitely pop me comments below. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear what's going on for you. So let us know in the comments.
Absolutely. We love hearing from all of you that are out there and just some of your thoughts and all these things that we learned. Alysa, thank you so much for being here today. I so appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. It's amazing.
Alysa is a beautiful soul inside and out. I so enjoyed the conversation with her. And like she said, we love to hear your thoughts, your comments. So please leave those in the comments section. We'll both be reading them. And we really enjoy that. I appreciate it too, because it really helps this channel. You can also just say you made it. That always helps, and I appreciate that. If you can give it a like, that'll be helpful as well. And share it with a friend if you know someone who would like to see this. All the good stuff, subscribe, hit the little bell icon if you want alerts. And then remember, you can always find all of my episodes, all of my past episodes in my playlist, and I always have a link to that in the description. I am so grateful for all of you that came here today to watch this, and I so appreciate you coming and watching all of my episodes. Thank you so much, everybody. I wouldn't be doing this without you. Take care. Thanks for joining me on Beyond with Heather Tesch. Please add comments and questions you'd like future guests to answer. Also, if you liked what you heard, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. That'll help keep this podcast going. You can also go to Beyond with Heather Tesch to look for more episodes.